Charles paid tribute to the courage and compassion shown that day. He called on Britons to stand united against hate. Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Mayor Sadiq Khan laid wreaths at Hyde Park at 8:50 a.m., the time the first bomb exploded. A national service followed at St. Paul's Cathedral. Survivors, police, and rescue workers gathered to honor the lives lost. 52 people died, over 770 were injured. Starmer said, "Those who tried to divide us have failed." The attack remains a defining moment in Britain's modern history. Let's listen in.
Hope is optimism with a broken heart. In the face of tragedy, optimism fails, but hope presents itself as a survival tool for the tenacity of the spirit that is in all of us. The good which is in Londoners is not erased by hatred or threat, but rather it's fostered to produce a harvest of hope for each generation.
The summer camp, devastated by flash floods in Texas, says 27 of its campers and counselors have died. State officials now put the overall death toll from the disaster at more than 80, and they warn that number will almost certainly rise. Camp Mystic, a nearly century-old Christian girls' camp on the banks of the Guadalupe River, says its community is grieving deeply. In their statement, camp officials said they are working closely with local and state authorities who are using every possible resource to search for the missing girls. They added they are deeply grateful for the overwhelming support from first responders, the community, the leaders, and at every level. Swollen by torrential pre-dawn downpours, the Guadalupe River turned into a deadly torrent in less than an hour, cutting straight through Kerrville. Most of the deaths happened along the town's riverfront, where Kerr County's sheriff says 68 people died, including 28 children. Now we move on to our next news. Over 2,000 refugees from Myanmar have crossed into Mizoram in just the past few days as intense fighting continues between rebel groups and the Myanmar military. Most of them, women, children, and elderly civilians, entered through Champhai district and are now sheltering in border villages like Quang Pa, Waikal Tlang, and Zokhao Thar. This fresh influx brings the total number of Myanmar refugees in Mizoram to nearly 36,500 people. Spread across 11 districts, the state has now activated around 150 relief camps to handle the growing crisis. Despite tighter border security, Assam Rifles are still allowing civilians to enter on humanitarian grounds. Local community groups, village councils, and NGOs are stepping up relief efforts of offering food, shelter, and medical care, even as resources stretch thin. Mizoram shares close ethnic and cultural ties with Myanmar's Chin population, and the state has maintained a compassionate stance throughout. Officials say most refugees hope to return home once peace returns. But for now, the situation remains tense, and the state is watching developments closely. Now we move on to our next news. Syria is battling its fourth day of raging wildfires in the coastal province of Latakia, where authorities say around 100 square kilometers of forest have been destroyed. Firefighters from Jordan joined Syrian emergency crews on Sunday, a day after Turkey sent aid. Take a listen to what a Syrian civil defense emergency and disaster manager in Latakia had to say. Minister for Emergencies Raid al-Saleh called it an environmental disaster, saying hundreds of thousands of trees across 28 locations had turned to ash. The United Nations has called for more international assistance as local teams struggle with tough terrain, extreme heat, strong winds, and the danger of unexploded ordnance. Some villages have been evacuated as the fires raged near the Turkish border.